the skies above Ukraine are changing. What once seemed like outdated relics of the Soviet Union have now become weapons of terrifying precision. Russia's F-500 bombs, massive, unguided munitions designed decades ago, are back. But this time, they're not the clumsy warheads of the past. With new glide kits and advanced targeting, they have become precision killers, raining destruction on Ukrainian defenses, equipment, and entire brigades. For Ukraine, for NATO, and for the future of modern warfare, this is a threat that may prove unstoppable. Tonight, we dive deep into the story of the FAB-500, its origins, its evolution, and the devastation it now brings to the battlefield. And most importantly, we ask the question, can Ukraine stop it? The FAB-500 was never meant to be glamorous. Born in the Soviet Union's Cold War arsenal, the FAB series of bombs were designed to be simple, powerful, and brutally effective. The number in its name, 500, refers to its weight, 500 kilograms. That's more than 1,100 pounds of raw explosive power. In its original form, the FAB-500 was a dumb bomb. Dropped from the belly of a bomber, it had no guidance, no precision, and no finesse. It relied on gravity and momentum, nothing more. Back in the 1960s and 70s, that was enough. The doctrine of Soviet warfare assumed mass saturation, wave after wave of bombs raining down to obliterate enemy positions through sheer numbers. The FAB-500 fit perfectly into that brutal philosophy. But over time, it became outdated. By the 1990s and 2000s, Western militaries were embracing precision-guided munitions. Laser-guided bombs, GPS-guided missiles, strikes that could hit a single building without destroying the block around it. The FAB-500, in comparison, looked like a relic. Large, heavy, and imprecise. Russia stockpiled them by the tens of thousands, but the world thought they belonged to the past. No one expected that decades later, they would return to center stage. In war, innovation is often born from necessity. As the conflict in Ukraine dragged on, Russia faced a problem. Precision-guided missiles like the Kalibr and Iskander were effective, but expensive, limited in number, and vulnerable to Ukrainian air defenses. The solution? Take something cheap, old, and plentiful, and make it deadly again. Enter the glide kit. By attaching simple, low-cost kits, wings, fins, and satellite guidance modules, Russia transformed its FAB-500 bombs into precision glide bombs. Suddenly, what was once a dumb weapon could now travel up to 40 miles from the launch point, navigate toward its target, and strike with terrifying accuracy. Imagine a 500-kilogram warhead gliding silently through the sky and landing with devastating force on a Ukrainian base. The upgrades turned the FAB-500 into something both horrifying and ingenious. Cheap to produce compared to modern missiles. Harder to intercept because they don't follow the predictable arc of rockets. And with Russia's massive Cold War stockpiles, they could be deployed in endless waves. For Ukraine, this wasn't just another weapon. It was a new nightmare. By mid-2023, reports began flooding in. Ukrainian positions that had once held strong were suddenly flattened. Defensive bunkers, supply depots, even NATO-supplied armored vehicles, obliterated in single strikes. Unlike artillery shells, which pound an area with dozens of smaller blasts, the FAB-500 delivers one enormous, overwhelming explosion. A direct hit can erase fortified positions in seconds. Entire brigades have been forced to abandon trenches under the threat of glide bomb attacks. Ukrainian soldiers describe the sound, a faint whistle in the distance, then a blast so powerful it leaves nothing but craters. Ukraine's air defenses, so effective against drones and missiles, struggle against this threat. Because glide bombs don't have engines or heat signatures, systems like Patriot or NASAMS find them far harder to detect. In some regions, Ukraine has been forced into a deadly choice: pull back forces to avoid destruction, or stay put and risk annihilation. The FAB-500 has reshaped the battlefield. It's not just a bomb, it's a psychological weapon. For NATO, the rise of the FAB-500 presents an uncomfortable truth. Billions of dollars in advanced weapons and equipment have flowed into Ukraine. tanks, artillery, air defense systems, drones. But a $20,000 glide kit on an old Soviet bomb can sometimes destroy equipment worth millions. It is a lopsided equation that works in Russia's favor. Western allies debate constantly, should they provide longer-range missiles that could strike Russian air bases before the fabs are launched? Should they risk escalating the conflict by enabling strikes deeper inside Russia? The dilemma is clear. Every new system given to Ukraine risks provoking a wider war. Yet every day without an answer allows Russia's glide bombs to inflict devastating damage. For NATO strategists, the FAB-500 has become a symbol of the war's grim mathematics, cheap solutions defeating expensive ones. So, can Ukraine fight back? The options are limited but not impossible. One strategy is to target the aircraft before they release their payloads. Russian jets like the Su-34 and Su-35 typically launch FAB-500 glide bombs from well behind the front lines. Ukraine needs long-range systems to push those jets further back, or eliminate them altogether. Another approach is electronic warfare. By jamming GPS signals, Ukraine hopes to throw the bombs off course. But Russia has been adapting, making their kits more resistant to interference. And then there's fortification. Digging deeper bunkers, dispersing troops, and building decoys to absorb strikes. But against half a ton of explosives, even the strongest trenches often collapse. For now, Ukraine's response feels like a desperate race, innovating in real time, trying to counter a weapon that grows deadlier with each wave. The FAB-500 story isn't just about Ukraine. It's about the future of warfare. What Russia has demonstrated is chilling. Old stockpiles of dumb bombs, when paired with modern technology, can rival the effectiveness of missiles that cost millions. This changes the calculus for militaries worldwide. Why invest in limited, expensive weapons, when thousands of cheap alternatives can be upgraded into precision killers? For countries watching from the sidelines, China, Iran, North Korea, the lesson is clear. The future of war may not lie in the most advanced weapons, but in how creatively you can use the weapons you already have. As the war in Ukraine grinds on, the FAB-500 remains a symbol of brutal innovation. A relic of the past, reborn to dominate the present. Wave after wave continues to fall, flattening trenches, destroying NATO equipment, and reshaping the battlefield. For Ukraine, the question remains, how long can they hold out against a weapon that seems unstoppable? And for the world, another question emerges. If the FAB-500 can change the course of this war, what other forgotten weapons of the past may be waiting to return? The war in Ukraine has entered a terrifying new phase. Russia has unleashed upgraded FAB-500 glide bombs, massive Soviet-era weapons transformed into precision killers. With devastating accuracy, they are destroying Ukrainian defenses, NATO-supplied equipment, and fortified positions across the battlefield. In this documentary-style breakdown, we explore the origins of the FAB-500, its transformation with modern glide kits, the destruction it causes, and what this means for Ukraine, NATO, and the future of modern warfare. Stay tuned for more.